Welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Orduña. Each month, we're excited to bring you an incredible interview with someone who has experience in facilitating an environment where people work better together.
And each week, we'll share some actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to help you function better together, whether it's in your marriage, family, team, workplace, church, or community.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Now let's jump into some content and get better together. Welcome for another 10-minute tune-up today. We are excited to share in this one because we think so often about this focus, adjust, persevere. And although there's some really great descriptions underneath that, some people might think of those words and think a lot about hard work, about grinding to make those things happen, to have that focus, those times where we need to make adjustments, those times where we need to persevere. I think specifically when we think about that word focus, it might trigger some people to think, man, that's really grinding. That takes a lot to make happen. And yet what Ian and I want to cover today is this idea of play, the importance of play, creativity within team, whatever team you're a part of. That could be within your marriage, that could be within your friendships, your work, your school, teams that you are actually on, sports teams, things like that. But where is the value, as we come back again, to making some adjustments towards this idea of play and not always just the grind? For we believe there can be some more better together that can be happening when we have play that happens within our relationships. Ian, when you think about this idea, and just as we smile here saying that word, and there's already memories probably flushing through our head where we've experienced this, but when you think about that idea of the importance of play, I mean, what comes to mind for you of anything you'd want to say about that or examples in the various circles of your life?
Oh man, so many. You know me, Daniel, I'm kind of a grinder. Like I like the grind. I like to work hard. I like to get after it. And I know I have to be reminded. And I think this tune-up is about reminding our listeners, man, work for that unity, fight for it, but make sure in the middle of it, you have some fun. See the little thing up here on the wall behind me? Like have fun. You got to have fun if in your family, in your workplace, in whatever you're doing. You know, some personalities tend to get into the grind and don't get their head up enough. I remember I was working with a very intense leader. He was the head of this whole organization I was a part of, and we all had our heads down. You know, there was probably about 20, 30 of us on the team at the time, and we're all grinding, going hard, just getting after it, and you could feel it. And I remember him just saying, all right, everybody, come on, that's it. We're all going to get in this van. So we had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea where we were going. He just wanted us to stop the grind, get in the van, and we were going somewhere. And it was fun. It was exciting. So we ended up going to see The Fugitive when that movie first came out, with Harrison Ford. And it was a great movie. I'll never forget that movie because it totally interrupted the grind, and we had so much fun together as a staff, and it honestly helped us all when we got back to be able to go ahead and do what we were doing and executing even better. So that's one memory for me that jumps right to mind. What about for you? What do you think of?
Yeah, I think there's a few for me, maybe to even open up more doors for our listeners. I think about example of sport team I'm a part of. I think about work, and I think about marriage. I think in sport team, I'll never forget in high school as well, just grinding away in cross country, wanting to better ourselves, putting in the miles after miles after miles of stuff. And I'll never forget as well, this one Friday that we had, our coach showed up with bags of watermelons and just said, hey, today we're going to do a watermelon relay. So we're going to break you off in teams. Instead of carrying this small baton around, you're going to hold on and lug this huge watermelon and have to run a lap, hand it off to your teammate, and try not to drop it. And sure enough, there were moments where people dropped it and some, watermelon fights happened, but there's also this sense of fun and play that helped relax us in the midst of the stress that we're feeling when we think about the races that we have coming up, the goals that we had as a team of wanting to win certain things. And there's just some times where you need a stress relief within that to break that. And I'll never forget that day of that workout in terms of what we did and the bonding that happened, the laughter that happened, the play that happened within our team. When I think about work as well, Ian, there's one that comes to mind. I just remember our staff too, just having this moment where we're grinding too, and someone said, let's get in a car, we're going bowling. And I'll never forget just having conversations, laughing within that, this stress relief again with what it is that we're chasing after. And then I think in my marriage too, there's been times where we've said we're having game nights. We're gonna have a game night. We're gonna come together in this way, and instead of some of the hard work that we put into bettering our marriage, we're gonna have an opportunity as well to laugh and play together. And I just think about how valuable each of those things were in releasing some stress and having some laughter and bringing a sense of building some relationships together. Ian, when you nod in your head and thinking about that, just what more is it making you think?
Well, it reminds me like this isn't rocket science, and these 10-minute tune-ups are not necessarily rocket. They're really reminders to us that as we're trying to fight for unity, and like we know it, like we know that fun breaks up the day, makes us better. Like we don't have to, I don't think, convince our listeners of this. They know sometimes we need the stress release. They know sometimes we need to do it. So I think as we continue in this tune-up, there are a couple things that come to my mind in order to really help and serve our listeners is we want to encourage you to be intentional about play. Sometimes it happens as you're going about your day and something spur of the moment, you just do something or stop and have some fun, which is great. Like you don't want your whole work week to be that way, but you tend to do that here and there. But I think what I would want to encourage people to do is like be intentional about it. Like if you're leading in any circle, your marriage, your family, whatever, plan some fun. Like sit down and pick out a time to get everyone in that circle together to have some fun. That's what comes to my mind. Like, because I think we know this. We intuitively, most of us have experienced it on a family vacation or whatever, but sometimes we don't schedule it. Like we're not intentional. So we want to encourage our listeners to be great at making things better together. So be intentional about scheduling some play, some fun in one of your circles this week. That's what comes to my mind.
So good. I think really we don't even need to get to 10 minutes if we don't get to in this moment. I think what I would have you walk away with is this from the stories and the reminders that have been here. The twofold piece is this: one, be in tune enough with your team in the moment that when the times come up that spontaneously you need to say, all right, we need to play right now because of what's ever going on. Be in tune with that. And then second, what Ian just said, on top of that, be intentional to set up moments of play and within whatever circles of teams that you're a part of in the various avenues of your life. We really want to encourage you in that. For we all know, listeners here and Ian and I, the value that is placed within that opportunity to play in terms of being better together.
Yeah. And I just also want to encourage, like based on your personality, you need to pay attention to this because personalities like mine, like I need people around me to remind me that we got to play. So I just listen to those people, whether it's your spouse or your family members or whatever. Like sometimes you just need to play. And so don't be afraid. Like it actually will increase your productivity. Sometimes we think it's going to decrease it, that we're not going to actually accomplish what we're trying to, but you'll be surprised. It actually goes the other way. So, yeah. So listeners, thank you for tuning in. We truly want to help you get better together in whatever circle you're fighting for it in. And we appreciate you tuning in today. Why don't you close us out, Daniel?
Yeah, we are so honored that you would join us. We are super thankful. Look forward to the interview that we have coming up next. Also, keep checking out these 10-minute tune-ups. And if somebody in your life you think could really use this reminder today of play, then send them a link to our podcast here, share it with them, and let's see what happens within that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great day, guys.